Hi, it's Nico from The Authentic Desire, and this is the third video in the series The Pleasure Priority. And in this video I'm going to explain to you why so many of us are so disconnected from the sneaky signals that our body gives us. So what very often happens is we push far beyond our own capabilities, and we ignore all the signs that our body is screaming, please take a rest. We ignore the mistakes, we ignore the exhaustion, we ignore the continuous feeling of anxiety and stress. And why is that? Well, it's because we've been raised in a disconnected society. From a very young age, we have been trained to dissociate, to disconnect from our own bodies and the needs that we have. And I will explain to you how that goes, even with well-meaning parents. So what you often see in the modern society, the parenting styles are diametrically opposed to the tribal parenting styles. So one of the things that very often happens is that parents are taught to let your baby cry out, to teach your baby self-control. The problem is that it often has the opposite effect. Why? Because babies are not able to really learn to regulate their nervous system. They learn by observational learning. And that's why in tribal and traditional child rearing, parenting, when an infant communicates distress, cries or even peeps, they get immediately picked up. Because what happens is people in tribal societies, they feel uncomfortable when a baby cries, just like we all do. However, they see that, they listen to their body, because their body says it's time to teach your child how to regulate their nervous system. So what happens? You feel distress because your baby is crying. So you pick it up immediately. You look your baby in the eyes, which creates a sense of synchronicity. Researchers have found that when you look a baby in the eye, when a baby and a mother look in each other's eyes, they have a limbic resonance. In other words, the parts of their brains that are responsible for the emotional processing fire in exactly the same way. It's as if they're connected physically. And so what happens is then, as a mother or as somebody else of the tribe that hears the baby cry, they start to slow down their breath and start to really, while keeping eye contact, comforting the baby with calm, warm, deep, vibrating sounds. And so they go, ah! And so first they feel stress, and then they calm themselves down. And by doing this, by observational learning, the baby learns how to regulate the nervous system. But in modern times, and for sure in the 80s, you got taught to let your babies cry. Otherwise your babies will be, or your children will become very needy and very scared, and they would not be able to have any self-agency. However, in tribal societies, you see in practice that the opposite is true. When you give the baby immediate attention, they learn that they can trust on somebody else, that they know that somebody has their back. And in many tribal societies, this is literal. When an infant is a baby, it gets carried all the way around. It has almost continuous skin-to-skin contact with their mother, with a parent, or another caregiver. And so they know that they have them back. And mostly the patch, like the thing that they carry the baby in, is hanged in front, just like a kangaroo. So the baby has somebody literally that has it back, and at the same time they're free to explore the world. So the two basic needs of a human, connection and security by the tribe, and exploration, finding new things, get fulfilled from a very young age. And then later, and also they sleep together with the parents. So there's continuous presence, which is normal, because when a baby is left alone in the wild, it is assured of death. So when a baby, for example, in modern times, if you let your baby cry, for the baby it's literally, for the body of the baby, it's literally as if their life is in danger. Because in the wild, for the longest time, it was like that. And so the baby realizes when they don't see their caretakers that they're alone. and so they feel abandoned, fearful for their life, and so they scream out and panic. And when the caretakers then don't take their needs into account, what will happen? They can do only one thing, that they dissociate from the intense emotions that rage through their bodies. Why? Because it's just too much. So no, you don't learn your baby to control their own emotions by not giving them attention. What you teach them is to dissociate from their bodies, to disconnect from their needs. Now, later, what often happens in modern times, parents have to set the rules and the child has to obey. Why? In the best meaning way, it is to protect the child. The child can grow and becomes a well-adapted individual. However, when you, for example, look at those tribal societies, they have very few problems with adolescents. Why? Because the children learn from a very young age that they have responsibility to take, that they have self-agency. For example, young tribal children are allowed to play around fire and play with sharp knives. Do they get burnt? Yes, they do. Do they get cut? Yes, they do. But in doing so, they learn very simply to become careful, to become attentive when they do things, because they don't have somebody else that tries to control and tries to make a safe container. They can start to create their own self-container, and so they're free to explore. Another thing that happens in modern society is that from the age of 3 to 6, all children go to the phallic phase. That's a phase where they see, oh, I'm a boy and I have something else than a girl, or the girl thinks, oh, I have something else than the boy. And they've become very fascinated with this. They have a different pee-pee than their papa or their mama. And so what happens? They start to touch us. And what do they see? Well, it feels really, really, really good. Become a bit uncomfortable with the idea of children and sexuality. But children are sexual beings. That does not mean they want to have sex with you as an adult. No, they have innocent sexuality. In other words, they want to touch their own. It feels good. Because you might realize it or not, little boys and little girls are multi-orgasmic. They can have orgasms throughout their body. But what happens when you see your child grabbing their Johnson or playing with their little beach? Well, very often you get punished, reprimanded. In other words, from a very young age, you learn as a young boy or young girl that sexuality and deep pleasure is not allowed. It is bad. You're a bad boy, you're a bad little girl. And while that is just what you want to hear when you're an adult, as a child it is horrible to hear. And so we have this kind of a pleasure prohibition. It goes even further than just in the sexual sphere. Imagine you have a bunch of children then running around in full joy, completely ecstatic. And what do most adults do? Well, they reprimand them. They say, be quiet. In other words, they get in their bodies installed like a thermostat, a happiness thermostat, that when it goes too high, you get punished. And so people become afraid to be fully ecstatic, to be fully in joy, to be all they can be. And so a lot of the people in modern times, they grow up tense and in a certain moment scared. Why? Because they learn that their needs and the sensations in their bodies, the urges they feel in their bodies are bad. That's of course in short contrast to the tribal societies where they are free to explore and know from an embodied and from a very young age that when they need other people, they just need to peep and they have support. But because of that, they become very confident and relaxed to explore the world. Now in this video I explained to you what the underlying reasons are that we don't notice the warning signals that, well, we are pushing too hard. But in the next video I'll explain what the underlying reasons are that we push, that we go harder than we can handle. See you in the next video.